Hello. Um, so recently I got involved with this debate about learning styles, and my interest from it sort of sparked from an input session I had on the course I'm currently doing at IH Newcastle, the intensive Delta course. And I wrote a blog post about it, and I got a couple of comments back, which largely said learning styles don't exist. It's not real. It's basically a myth that we quite like, and like all popular myths, we happily sign up to it. One colleague who works in Korea posted a link to a very interesting talk about learning styles, and the talk was quite short and sweet. It basically summed up the whole theory behind learning styles, in particular of the VAC learning styles, so visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. And in this talk, the presenter said, here's the hypothesis, here's the theory behind learning styles, which is if you present information in a certain way, which is in accordance with how a person best learns, then that person will be able to learn and memorize that information more successfully. And it gives a nice example and says if you present auditory information in an auditory way, an auditory learner will probably remember that information better. And if you present information in a visual way, a visual learner will probably remember and learn that better. And then after that, it moves on to say that lots of research has been done in this, and it simply isn't true. It doesn't work like that. If you have a picture and you need someone to learn and memorize that picture, then they will simply use the visual aspect of their brains for that. If you show someone a sound, they'll use the auditory functions of their brain and their minds to try and remember and memorize and learn that sound. And for me, that sounds all well and good and true, and I certainly believe it as it's based on scientific research and good methodology. However, I think a key point has been missed out here, especially someone who is both a language learner and a language teacher. I think learning styles is not really about simply how someone learns in a sense of present information in a certain way so it's learned better. I think it's much more about how a learner processes any information that's presented to them. So let me give you an example. I have a colleague who's not an English native speaker, and if I use a word with him that he doesn't know in English, doesn't at all know the word, or possibly knows but didn't understand the word that I said, I notice in the classroom and in life, he literally tries to visualize the word in front of him, and he's what we would describe as a very strong visual learner. And he tries to process the word in a visual way. It's as though the sounds, no matter how clearly I say it, it's as though the sounds somehow simply don't compute, they almost block. But once it's visualized in front of him or it's written on the whiteboard, then he gets it. Even if it's a word he knew or didn't know, he'd be like, okay, that's it. And then he has some kind of apparatus to base that to base his knowledge on that word on. And I notice this with other learners in the classroom. I notice there's those who, if I say a word, they will almost literally shut their eyes and process the sounds and repeat it, and they've got it. They're the kind of sort of auditory learners that we have. And there's those who simply really struggle without some kind of visual aspect to it. I think this is what learning styles is really about. It's about how learners process new information. And I don't think it's about presenting information in a certain way for specific learners. I think it's just about letting them process it in the way that they feel comfortable with, which leads on to the conclusion that we already know. In the English language classroom or in any language classroom, we probably should be presenting and working with new language in a variety of different ways. So having some kind of spoken aspect to the language, a visual aspect to the presentation, and possibly an even kinesthetic aspect. So under control practice, have people moving as they're processing language. I am willing to accept that what might be happening here is that the new information is being presented three times over, and it could be that three times seeing this information is enough to get into someone's brain. But I also think, given those few examples I've shown, it is also a bit about how people process information. You've got to let them process that information in accordance with how they feel comfortable. So let me know what you think about this, and the video that I referred to should be available in the link with this post. Thank you.